me. Altitude 8,000, 7,000. 6, we're at 6, man. I'm head forward, Goose. I can't reach the ejection handle. Goose, you have to put this out. I can't reach the ejection handle. Eject. I'm trying. Eject. Watch the canopy.
It's Matty and Patty, coast to coast. From Brooklyn, this is Captain Metaman, to San Francisco, it's Matt Younger. Say hello, Matty.
Hey, Patty. That was dark.
It's dark times, my friend. These have been dark times for quite a while.
I was going to say.
Welcome to the Cleveland Sports Hour. We are too self-aware but unapologetic. Far too much time watching, reading, and thinking about the Cavs, Browns, and Tribes. So if you'd like to be informed, intelligent, and advanced perspective, you've come to the right place. Matthew, you lost Goose. David Blatt is really a Euro coach sensation, the only Cavs coach to deliver a finals game victory to Cleveland, let alone a 2-1 lead, with two of his top three players injured in his rookie year.
That's a good resume.
Which he would take as an insult within goddamn years. And the number of decisions he had to make within a game were rivaled only by goddamn fighter pilot, you stupid son of a bitch. How dare you question me? That guy has been fired. He was an asshole.
Most certainly.
Possibly brilliant, misunderstood, proud, highly accomplished asshole. But as I always said, Matty, what did I always say?
He was our asshole?
And now he's dead. His replacement, Brutus, Tyronn Lue, the player favorite, led the Cavs in his first game last night to a scintillating 83 points on 37% shooting. 40%, though, Matty, from the free throw line. On 9 of 22 shooting.
Yeah.
In 16% on 4 of 24 shooting from 3-point line. Matty. What do we make of this?
Of last night or everything?
What's that?
What do we make of last night or what do we make of everything?
Start where you want to start from, Matty.
So I don't make so much of last night.
Yeah, just give me the headline. Basically, we'll get into it in more detail in a bit.
All right. So last night they just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a shot. I mean, there's other things. It's not like they played a great game, but I think if they LeBron said this afterwards, their defense was okay. If they had shot anywhere close to reasonably bad from the 3-point line or the free throw line, they would have been right in that game. And maybe would have even won. And we would have said, ugly first time out. Players got a lot going on, but they pulled one out. I just can't read too much into it beyond that. It was aberrational, their shooting from both places. And they were getting open looks from 3-point range too. They just couldn't put anything down.
Right.
We'll get into the schematic stuff more later, but the headline for me, it's it's way too early to be drawing any conclusions. Now, the overall picture of the coaching change we'll get into, but just from last night, I can't read anything.
My headline is not promising. Not not good.
Not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob. I mean, yes, absolutely. We can't judge what's going to happen from here on out. We also can't judge the decision based on last night.
Yeah.
But the bottom line to me, Matty, is fucked right now. Like even when you and I were despairing, we honestly, I thought you despaired more than I did. I just was not feeling good that this late in the season we still didn't have our shit together. Neither one of us had anywhere near close to the pulse of how bad shit was.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's really crazy, given how much you and I are both prone to despair. How Cleveland is this? We're diehard Cleveland fans who are well-versed in Cleveland curses and Cleveland shit and are prone to despair. Did not see this shit coming.
We underestimated.
That's what this is. We really. So let's hit the rundown here. This will be a pretty quick for Matty and Patty purposes podcast. We have a natty all season long. Matty, you have been wetting your pants about the roster.
Correct.
That we're not athletic enough to compete with the length of the modern NBA. Now, all season long, Patty has been the Pollyanna about coaching schemes. Schemes emphasize the ball movement to get the ball in the hands of the devastating talents like Love, Kyrie, and LeBron when the defense is rotating off balance. Those have been our two sides of this argument. Well, now we have our test. Blatt has been fired. Players clearly believe in Lue and certainly in his scheme, the strategy. We'll get into more on that in a bit. LeBron certainly does. So if the team soars from here, Matty, what do you say? Am I right?
If the team soars from here, then I think you are right. I think if they implode, it doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong.
Right. But it does mean that if we're going to do like a balance here, right, a balancing beam, if the team soars from here, the balance tilts. If the team continues to stink against the only teams that matter, and that's the clear, to me, distinction here, then balance tilts towards Matty.
Well, there's a middle ground there for you too, Pat, which is that Tyronn Lue is the coach, but just still can't get the schemes right and fucks that up. In which case, we could be in the same boat.
Certainly true, and honestly, I think the problem with the players isn't so much the athleticism, so much as their mindset and their being gigantic pussies potentially. That's what we'll get into as well. So there's a lot of I think there's ways that you could be right or wrong, depending on how this works out. But we still get a basic kind of like it's not as pure as you'd like in the experiment, but it is as close as you'll get in.
It's a little bit of a referendum,
given our. Yes, it is. So that'll be fun for the rest of the season.
I agree.
Now, obviously, last night, as we were just talking about, proves nothing other than the Cavs are still shook as fuck.
And maybe out of shape, which was not something that I wasn't aware of was going to be a problem.
Did not expect. But goddamn right they should be. Their bullshit just got their head coach fired. Between all the conflicting reports, we're going to weigh in on each one. The bottom line was this. Their head coach was essentially fired because the locker room did not feel like a championship, feel like a locker room that believed it could win.
Yep.
If I'm reading Griffin right,
I think that's more than anything. That's what we heard.
Celebrate. Yeah. It did not celebrate wins as if as a team that's about to win a championship celebrates wins. Now, I don't know how they're supposed to celebrate them, but, like, I buy his theory that, his basic statement that you know if shit's good.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't, grow up in the 70s and watch the Yankees in baseball who hated each other win titles. But, baseball's so much different than basketball. You have to be a tight-knit group to be able to – and it might explain some of my concerns about how when the shit hits the fan, this team folds like a, house of cards.
Cheap suit, Pat, I believe. Cheap suit is what folds. I think you collapse like a house of cards.
House of cards.
That just collapses.
Like a house of cards. Thank you. I'm mixing my metaphors. All right, so what's a Blatt? was the players. That's the focus tonight. All right, let's start things off, Matty. What was your instant reaction when you saw the watch bomb? Where did you hear it first? Did I break the news?
Yes, I heard it first from you, Pat, in a text. I was shocked. Honestly shocked. I didn't believe it at first.
Neither did I. So recently we had a lot of layoffs at my job, and this one young guy, one of my favorite guests, Julian McWilliams, was back in to pick up a few things and to say hi. And he was so thrilled while he was there. He walks up to me. I'm literally planning my dear colleague's baby shower. I literally called her back into the office. She's literally on maternity leave because she has a scheduled delivery. I call her back in the office for a bullshit meeting to set up this whole thing. As she's arriving, Julian comes over to me and says, "I'm so glad I was here for this, Patty. Look at this." Hands me his phone. Watch bomb. If it had any other text, any other tweet, it would have been like immediately bullshit.
Yeah.
It was shit. This fucking sucks.
Yeah, I was totally shocked and surprised. The timing didn't make any sense to me. Coming off a nice win over the Clippers, felt like we'd rebounded from that awful Dubs game. I was totally shocked.
Mm-hmm.
And still somewhat.
It was not good. Still shocked. I mean, I sort of bought into the lore of that, Yankees team that hated each other, but they're still, dominant because they're so dominant. But playing games like the Spurs and the, Warriors. So anyway, so the initial tweets they're coming through. So my first reaction, Matty, was once I got past the disbelief, was this is a terrible fucking move.
Yes,
this is disaster.
I followed you there too.
This is we still, it wasn't a great chance. It was maybe a 10% chance to win the title. The way things were, I felt this made me feel like it went straight down to 0.
Yeah,
but then we started hearing the initial tweets coming in about the reporters not being surprised at all, the problems in the locker room, that the locker room was pretty much lost to Blatt, and these last 15 games, I get 14 games, 15 games, apparently were the breaking point from the Christmas Day game till now.
Yeah,
at least through the Clippers, the team was just done with him. Not just the veterans, but just everyone, and not just LeBron, but everyone. And then I was thinking, oh, we didn't realize, even despite our levels of despair, we didn't realize that we were already at 0%.
Right.
Potentially. And I feel that way now. I feel like that we were at 0% before we fired Blatt, and we just didn't know it yet. And Griffin knew it, but he knew he'd get hammered for it, and I feel like he made a really ballsy call. I mean, you have a lot of balls to fire a coach this successful.
For sure.
Mid-season in January. For sure. Yeah.
No, I totally agree.
Any thoughts? I mean, the first big report we got was from Chris Hayes of the Plain Dealer, which was totally all people hated Blatt. It was a broadside from Blatt haters on the team.
Yes,
clearly.
Yes, which means LeBron.
I mean, which means LeBron. No. Honestly, half of this shit felt like, small guys on the team complaining about bullshit, complaining about like really small shit, like. Man, he tried to sub TT in during a blowout, late in the game. It's like, hold the presses. He tried to sub in TT when it was a blowout. What?
Well,
seriously?
that was pretty dumb.
It was dumb, sure.
I mean, we were down to one to like we had 2 healthy big men, and we were putting one of them in at that point. It was dumb.
It was clearly dumb, but to me, this is the example this he's upon struck me as people that had been hating this guy for a while, and when pushed and pressed for an example, we're like, this is like, whenever I think I've ever had to fire someone or go through that process, but when you're pressed to think of examples for why this person's bad at their job,
yeah,
you'll be sitting there going, I didn't write this shit down as it was happening. What? There's that one fucking time that he told me one thing but didn't another. It's a small example, but it's that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a dumb example to me. It's not a big fucking deal. It's not a reason to fire somebody. But to me, it's the one thing they seized upon, the one thing they remember, that stuck out in their mind.
That's a good analogy.
It's still not good that if it's still not good that they don't have anything better than that. I saw, which was he tried to call timeout in the most important game of our entire season last year, and thank God the refs didn't call it because we would have lost that game and probably the series.
Oh, and he would have gotten canned.
Oh yeah, after the season, not before, but yes.
If he had called that time, if they had been granted that timeout, we would have lost that game. We would have lost the series. He would have gotten canned, I think.
And we can, exactly.
In retrospect,
absolutely,
that would have been the excuse Griffin needed.
Because clearly, from what we've heard from Griffin, he's been thinking about this since last year when we made the trade. And when he had his vote of confidence, he thought about it then and said, "No, you know what? Players are being bitches. I'm going to call their bluff." And I'm glad he did that. By the way, I'm going to say that right now. That was the right call.
Yeah,
it was we should call it right back then. Like, the players are not without fault here, and that's the bigger. I think they're being kind of bitches, and LeBron has to play a role in that. Thank God Scott, our friend's not listening to this podcast, but he would take too much pleasure in that statement.
Who else? Because I mean, that's something that's sort of disturbing to me, is because it's supposed to be a veteran locker room that sort of has its shit together. That was part of getting rid of waiters and all that. Who else? Like, I don't think James Jones is causing problems. I don't think Richard Jefferson is causing problems. Mo, and that's the other weird.
I think Richard Jefferson is.
Well, he was upset about not understanding his role, just like Andy. But that, like, the idea that the team is not together and is real divided flies in the face of everything we saw earlier in the year. I'm thinking back to the Halloween party, all the handshakes we see. Like, was that just bullshit, Pat? Did that mean nothing?
Or more importantly, it rattled from there because they were all playing kind of. Well, I mean, I guess Verja wasn't, but RJ was, Mo was, right?
Yeah.
Kyrie wasn't playing.
Well, but we knew they were going to have to sacrifice time.
It's all unraveling.
When Iman and Kyrie came back, right? Like, that was something that was known that those guys, the playing time was going to shift. Now, maybe Blatt just did a terrible job communicating it. That's sort of seems like what happened.
It seems clearly he did. What's happened, because they were super happy when Iman and Kyrie weren't playing. Then they can, rotation got shrunk, and RJ complained. We actually had reports of that. Mo was being weird as shit. Verja clearly hasn't been happy. Clearly has been, bummed, but has been a total pro about it. But you got to imagine that in the locker room, it's just not a good vibe because Verja is part of that team. LeBron loves him, certainly, right?
Yeah.
Although interesting to see that Verja didn't play a single minute against the Bulls.
No, I was surprised by that too.
I was very surprised by that. So who knows? Losing a locker room is a really tough thing to put your finger on, right? I've heard of guys like motivating guys to play, and then like 4 or 5 weeks later, they've lost the team. This team seemed really galvanized and together as a unit during the playoffs last year, right? Despite Blatt. And so I thought that they kind of, rounded that corner, so to speak. It's difficult to say, but suffice to say, it seems very obvious that Blatt had lost the team. More from Wendy and I call him David McMenamin, to make it very, very clear that they had totally lost the team.
Yeah,
that he had totally lost the team. Excuse me.
I thought Jason Lloyd's made.
What did you make of
too.
His epic final thoughts? Which if you haven't read them, you can read them. These are. I mean, first of all, you should be reading them after every single game. You should be looking for them, Googling them, find them on Twitter. Find them every single game. They're probably the best observations about. They'll tell you what's important that you just watched or missed. But what did you make of the Woj column? I tweeted that Woj tweets are like the voice of God, but Woj columns are like They are much less reliable. What did you make of them?
Yeah, I feel like he has
His
a LeBron agenda, which is pretty clear. An anti-LeBron agenda. I don't know about anti-LeBron agenda, but just the LeBron is making Machiavellian moves behind the scenes.
Matt, let me interrupt you. Take me back. You tell me about Waj's history with LeBron, his other pieces, and then what this piece outlined. Tell me about that.
Well, I'm just thinking. I mean, Waj was a welcome port in the storm when LeBron left because he was shitting all over him for how he did things, for is it LMRM? LRMR, I always forget what his management team is called.
Yeah.
But the moves that they're trying to make and gathering other players to the agency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I super enjoyed that stuff when I hated LeBron and bought it. And I mean, maybe this is just me changing my opinion on LeBron and this changing my opinion on Woj, but he clearly has an agenda there. And I don't know why. But it super manifested itself in that column. I mean, there was some crazy stuff in there. The Mark Jackson stuff was wild. That's who, when they decided to come to Cleveland, that's who they wanted. He was committed to getting Mark Jackson here. And Griffin, God bless his heart, was just like, that's not happening, and drew a very hard line in the sand. Like, if any of that is true, thank God for Griffin, but it just seems so crazy to me.
Just, LeBron's supposed to have a high basketball IQ, and Mark Jackson is demonstrably a terrible coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a very natural Mark Jackson before, Mark Jackson, not with the Warriors. I mean, it's right there in front of you how much better that team. He was basically holding back a historically great team.
Yes. That's it.
They really added. That's how bad he is. He's so bad he held back greatness.
Yeah.
So the idea that LeBron with him.
It's there's all sorts of stuff that's messed up when in retrospect with a timeline of LeBron. Just weird stuff like that. We hired Blatt and had this whole rebuild with young people and had no idea that LeBron was going to come back and do this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should have had there was that thing in that piece that LeBron was mad that we didn't have cap space cleared already.
It's like, what, dude? Why would you think that we're going to just expect you to come back?
What's weirder about that is people in Cleveland knew he was coming back, right? Like I know that those were all people who were sort of dismissive of the folks I knew in Akron who were buying season tickets the year ahead of time because they were like, he was coming back. But all that stuff's been confirmed after the fact from people I know in Akron that know him. They're like, yeah, of course he was coming back. Everybody knew that. So I don't know.
Right.
It's all super weird to me because in retrospect, they shouldn't have hired Blatt. They shouldn't have hired Mark Jackson, but they should have gotten a coach that was a former player probably that LeBron felt comfortable with, and they could have gotten the best.
Ty Lue would have been fun to start.
Yeah, but they could have had their
looking for him anyways.
They could have had their pick of the litter of former
who else was
former player coaches. I don't remember who was there at the time, but they could have had the best one as soon as they knew that LeBron was coming, right?
No, the reason why Matty, but the reason we liked Blatt at the time was that we looked at what was anything that was out there. Jackson, fuck no. We all said that at the time. No way do I want Mark Jackson shit up in here. And there was no one else like, do you like Ty Lue? Ty Lue and David Blatt were the biggest names. David Blatt was a surprise name, and we're like, you know what? I love this.
Frankly, I feel like you're right because I think Brian Shaw was out
upset then. If we had hired Ty Lue. Yeah, they were all terrible. So it's going to be Ty Lue or no one. So we got the guy. I agree with you. It's weird. I mean, first of all, the Cavs should not be making any moves unless LeBron's talking to them directly. And if they really were like surprised that we weren't planning for him, it's like, dude, fuck you. You shouldn't come and talk to us at all.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of beef to get over.
I can't believe that's really true.
And we got over it.
Because the crazy part,
I also don't believe it's true.
The crazy part of that Woj piece, Pat, is the insinuation that essentially LeBron is coming back here and running some sort of scam with Dan Gilbert's money in order to feed money into his buddy's agency, into Rich Paul's agency. That was sort of the implication there, right? That LeBron is has the team held for ransom, basically, and is getting as much money as possible, getting as many clients as possible over to Rich Paul, and then getting those clients as much money as possible. That's pretty intense.
Yep. Which I think undercut by the fact that LeBron did nothing to help TT. I mean, TT certainly got a good contract, but no connection to TT's agent, for example. TT had a different agent. Same contract would have happened.
If the agent was any good, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, which he presumably would have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with this, Waj. If I'm going to give Waj as much credit as I can, or what the hell is it called? Clutch Sports. It's called that's much easier to say. It's Clutch Sports. Just trying to. Hey, LeBron likes Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson's one of our clients. Why don't you guys hire this guy? If you guys are gonna dump Blatt, why don't you do this guy? And we were like, no thanks. And that was it. I don't believe LeBron was like giving them the heat. I think this is all Rich Paul. And if at all, and just being blown out a little bit because Waj really hates LeBron.
Yeah, he's got an axe to grind.
I mean, he sounds like. I mean, first of all, I loved it when he had the axe to grind.
Oh, for sure. This is totally double faced of me.
Oh, me too. I mean, I only care when you're ripping in guys that I want you to rip on. I do not care for it when you rip on my guy when he's my guy.
It does have the whiff of somebody with an agenda rather than somebody that's just reporting.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't strike true enough. And I still think that Wendy McMenamin and Jason Lloyd seem to have a better finger on the pulse. And they are the beat reporters in particular. Waj is just like the tentacled hub of the whispering network, right?
He's the master of whispers.
He's the master of whispers. He's what's the guy's name?
Varys?
Varys? Yeah, Varys. I was going to say Vesper. It was Varys. Yeah, Varys. The spider. What do they call him? The spider. Something spider. Yeah, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matty, what did you make of Ty Lue's first game? Let's move on to the game from last night.
So I liked everything he had to say in his interview ahead of the game, right? We exchanged texts about this, right?
Hold on, but let's take the marquee comment. I'm not gonna do things differently. I'm gonna do them better.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That is some fucking shade. Jesus. But I tend to think that he was not trying to throw shade. He was just trying to say, look, I'm not doing things very differently from Blatt. We kind of we're on the same page. I just want to execute it better and do a better job.
I agree. It sounded worse than he meant it, I think.
He's been pretty loyal in most of his comments since, even though he's had a lot of things that he said very harshly that do not reflect well on Blatt. But what do you think?
So I liked everything he had to say about what he wanted to do with the offense, right? Like more up tempo, Kevin Love working at the elbows.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. I mean, that's essentially what we've been talking about, right?
Well, ball movement, up tempo, I think is different.
That's true, but I think up tempo was to get the ball up and in sets and get it moving rather than taking the ball up slow and then getting it in isolation sets where somebody just had to take a shot because there wasn't enough time to do anything with it. I think those were paired, even if it wasn't said explicitly.
Yeah, if that's what they're going for, and we'll talk more about this in a bit, but like if that's what they're going for, great. If they're talking about like just run and gun, trying to get the shot really fast, 7 seconds or less style, I'm not down with that at all.
I'm less down. I think we should have more I think we should run more and have more transition game, but I agree with you. That's not here's what's weird to me is we were texting during the game and Kevin Love came out real early and my brother was super pissed off about it. And James Jones came into sub for him, which was weird and we can get back to. Mm-hmm. But my reaction was, and I think you had this reaction was, okay, this is smart. This is something people have talked about. Let's get him out early as his rest and then get him back in against second units and run the offense through him at the elbows. That makes some sense.
Yep.
But afterwards, Fisher says, all of my guys were gassed and asked to come out of the game. so that he ended
Matty.
up in a position where he was playing with none of the big three on the court
Yep.
towards the end, in the middle of the first quarter, when we didn't hit it. We went 0 for 16 and went like 7 minutes without scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So that gets into like the whole them not being in shape thing is super weird to me.
Very
And
weird.
I don't understand it still, honestly. Kyrie, maybe a little, he's still coming back, but like
One thing that's really
Ron's not
funny.
in shape.
One thing that's really funny, Matty, what you just said is that first of all, you had a Freudian slip and you called Tyronn Lue Fisher,
Whoa,
like Derek Fisher. I'm assuming.
That's not good.
Which is very funny.
I don't like that at all.
I don't like that at all either. But yes, I mean, I made light in our texting exchanges that our excuse game is getting better at least. Clearly, again, this is another misunderstanding. I believe this. I'm not making excuses here, but Tyronn Lue was talking about we were not in game shape for the style of play that everyone clearly has been angling for, and Blatt has been holding them back. This is one of the big sticking points. Clearly, everyone to a man was talking about how they wanted to run. They wanted to run and get up and down the court, and Blatt was clearly holding them back. It's a big question mark, honestly, I think, whether that's the right thing or not. Whether Blatt was wrong to hold them back. Or, I mean, Matty, if you're talking about this team not being athletic and not being athletic to compete in modern NBA, you should not be pushing for more pace, I feel like. Or at least let me ask you, do you feel like you should be pushing for more pace, given your stance on our questionable athleticism?
I like getting the ball up faster because I like getting into the offense faster. I like that, and we do have a couple great athletes who can take advantage of. I mean, LeBron is still a great athlete. Kyrie's still a good enough athlete. We've got Kevin Love throwing those outlet passes. Like, we should take advantage of that when we can. Mm-hmm. But I'll just sort of recapture what we just said. I don't want to turn them into the 7 seconds or less Suns, right? I just want the ball up the court a little bit faster and have a little bit more of a fast breaking offense. That's it.
Okay. And I will say one thing in your favor that I'm thinking about, which is that I do think that our athleticism is less apparent in the half court set. It's more apparent in the fast court. In the fast break, excuse me. Fast court. Fast court's kind of a good phrase, actually. Fast court versus the half court. Why don't we say that? Anyway.
Sure.
I'm just talking. But no, I feel like I wonder if a lot of our seeming lack of athleticism is exposed just based upon half-court sets. Very few half-court teams look that athletic, particularly athletic, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we are actually more athletic than we seem. Because I do think we have some athletes. We have a lot of good athletes. Maybe we don't have quite as many as Golden State, but I feel like we have a lot. But also, we get exposed against running teams when we try to run with them because, as this game just showed, we aren't conditioned for it. We aren't used to that shit. And if that's actually true, that tells me that any team that's not playing that fast break pace isn't conditioned enough to compete with those fast court teams. Apparently I'm committed.
Yeah, use it, buddy. Roll with it.
I'm just going to roll with it. I keep going to it. I'm going to keep saying it. Yeah, these fast court teams clearly have better conditioning. Now, how did you think of teams that have athleticism? They say, they're trying to run with them. They really shouldn't do that. That's just what this other team wants. Mm-hmm. And I think could it just be because the team that's unconditioned to running that kind of a game is just going to get tired and will then start getting sloppy in their defense, sloppy in their offensive sets?
I think that's possible.
So that'll be interesting. So honestly, we're at 0%, right, chance of winning the title when we talked about this firing. So I'm like, okay, fine, try it. Seriously, try it. The worst that happens is that we scrap it and we've gotten conditioned for it.
And also, theoretically, at least, we should have the depth to facilitate that too, right?
Yeah.
We can run 10, 11 guys out there comfortably.
Exactly.
So
Bearshaw can run. Bearshaw can run. Maybe can't play peak defense for Bearshaw, but he can run. He didn't get any play last night.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. The ball. the actual ball movement I saw pace. I didn't see any kind of increase in ball movement. I saw ball movement. I didn't see a regression, so that was good. But I did not see any more ball movement. Did you?
No, not particularly. And infuriatingly, I thought both Kyrie and LeBron had the ball. LeBron threw up a lot of long twos and threes.
Terrible shots. He came in right when we needed him to calm the offense down and set the stage, be the adult in the room.
Yeah,
and just threw up the worst possible Dion Waiters style shot.
Yeah,
right?
he played particularly poorly.
Awful.
And Kyrie was doing a lot of one-on-one stuff, and even when he got to the hole, he could not finish to save his life. It was a very disappointing game from both those guys. So on top of terrible shooting, which is I don't know who to blame for that other than you just had a shitty shooting night.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for us to win when LeBron and Kyrie play bad.
That's true.
And that's not – I don't know what kind of indictment that is. I name a team in the league that can win when their top two players play bad.
Exactly.
There's not many of them.
No. As they point out, one thing that was interesting, getting back to Kevin Love, we did see him on the elbow at least once. Your brother in particular missed it.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I think it was Jason Lloyd who pointed this out for the first time, which is interesting, is that the strategy for Love, and they were talking about this for a while, and he was thinking about writing this for a while, was that they're going to try and sub him early so that he can sub back in with the subs. So that he plays his 3-and-D, sorry, his glorified Channing Frye role with the Kyrie and LeBron, since they are ball dominant guys, and Love is also a ball dominant guy, honestly. When he was great in Minnesota, he had the ball in his hands every possession. So he's not going to have that with LeBron and Kyrie on the court, and that's the big problem. So with the two of them on the court, he's going to space the floor. He's mostly going to space the floor. Maybe he'll do some stuff on in the post for certain plays, but for the most part, he's going to do what he did for us last year, which was great, statistically speaking. Great for us and great for LeBron and Kyrie. But we'll sub him out early and play him with the subs so that he can then be the guy on the floor with the second unit, where then he can then get the ball on the elbows where he facilitates with his passing, with his shooting, with his with his post play. So the thing
I like that theory.
I love it, and apparently Lue has 11 to 12 plays to run off the elbow, but they haven't practiced any of them, which is damning, just completely damning of Blatt. If he really did not plan that shit. He's just being stubborn with the whole, everyone say I have to play him on the elbows. I don't need to play him on the elbows. It's like, dude, look at his tape. You've got a guy who is like all-time historic. He was the first guy to really revolutionize the position. He's the guy. He's the one guy that made stretch 4 a thing.
Well,
right? Wouldn't you say? If there's one guy you could point to,
I think Dirk Nowitzki would be the guy that I would point to first. But Love was the guy that was a robust rebounder and could go out there, and Dirk is a different sort of player. My point is that Kevin Love was a true power forward. Dirk was never really a true power forward ever. Love started as a power forward and converted to being the stretch 4. He was a power forward who could then also stretch his game out, right? Like that. That's why I think of it that way. Dirk. That's right. I mean, Love is the one who got the Chris Bosh's and LaMarcus Aldridge's to start launching threes, and Paul Gasol's out shooting threes. I agree. Exactly. Precisely. That's what I'm saying. I feel like he made Brian Anderson's career in a way. Because anyway. So that being said, that is damning of Blatt, though. I mean, that we should emphasize that's bad if that's true. If we have no plays around for him at the elbow, because I never saw him at the elbow before with Blatt at all. We saw him at least twice last night. I feel like I had 2 times, maybe more. Well, they said they were running him out of timeouts, right? Because they needed to draw up the plays. That's right. He had to draw them up out of the timeout because they didn't know them in advance. That's right. So that's why I feel like I saw it twice. Maybe I saw it more than that, but I did not see it. And if you blink, you can miss it because we only ran it, 1 or 2 times. But that's a good strategy, and I'm happy to see. I'm excited to see what happens when we have some more days off, and we can see what kind of sets we can run with that. When Kyrie and LeBron are sitting. Anything else? There's. Let me ask you this. So,
my biggest concern about this, Conrad Kazmarek has one of the Cavs Twitter guys who's been mostly the one guy who still hasn't come around from what I've seen on the Blatt firing. He's been hammering on the terrible rotations, and yes, I mean it's weird. We only had 2 minutes with Kyrie, LeBron, Love, and Tristan on the floor together all night.
Yeah, Tristan's minutes were super weird.
I mean, those are our 4 best players. Those are the 4 guys. That's the lineup you want to have out there more than anything, no matter who you start. And we had 2 minutes together.
Especially against the Bulls.
Yeah.
Who play big. It was, I agree, the rotations were weird. I mean, what Lue said was that his guys, he had a plan, everybody got winded and needed to come out, and that fucked everything up. And then he needed to adjust. And he's like, I got to figure that out. Which, on the one hand, okay. On the other hand, fucking Christ, have that shit figured out. You're an NBA head coach. You got a lot of veterans on the assistant coaching staff. You feel like they could have that together.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him a pass for one game. It's got to be figured out from now on.
Yeah, he looked a little, not shell shocked, but like a little bit like, oh shit, this is not having to make decisions every minute, not just having to be the guy to say, hey, I see this, I see that, I see that, and then start talking to guys. Being the guy in the fucking driver's seat is a horrifying experience.
Once you start flying that jet plane, Pat, it's a whole other thing.
You've got like 260 decisions to make in the course of 60 minutes. It's the danger zone, Matty. It's the danger zone. But one of the things, going back to Griff, talking about togetherness and strategy, to me the big concern is we went with Lue because the players bought into Lue, and what Griff thought was that the team was not together. It wasn't a unit.
Well, and I don't know that there were other choices too, like what we were gonna do.
Oh, I agree. But let me get to the concern I have, which is Lue clearly had togetherness, Ubuntu, if we're gonna steal a phrase from Doc, his mentor, right? That's what Doc was like famous for. Because Doc, if you remember, was like a ridiculously terrible coach before he got a bunch of amazing, Hall of Famers landed in his lap, right?
And Tom Thibodeau.
And Tom Thibodeau. That happened after that? I didn't know that.
Thibodeau became his assistant in Boston, and that was the defense was Thibodeau's exclusively. So
that happened the same year that he got Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett?
He might have had Thibodeau the year before, but Thibodeau was like an enormous part of that team.
Oh, I agree.
Together.
Sure, absolutely. But my point being, he was ridiculed as a terrible coach by the sports guy Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons was just was ruthless about him. For sure, ruthless. Hated him. Treated him like he was Byron Scott. That Byron Scott bad was how he treated him. Yeah, and then he got these Hall of Famers, and they became this legendary coach now, right? And one of his things was he got this team to really be together, and that's one of the things he had with him. That's Tyronn Lue brings to the table, but David Blatt has 20 years of demonstrable. If you look at the stuff that he does, the film work outside the Cavs of great strategy. Now the problem with the NBA is that you got to have a team together, and you have to have it no matter where you go. It's just maybe the cultural gap that Blatt couldn't reach his players here. But so does Lue have enough of the strategy that Blatt had to make any kind of difference? Or is he in over his head in a different way? Like Blatt was in over his head with getting the team together. Will Lue be in over his head with strategy?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. I mean, that's what we're going to find out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope to God he isn't.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I got the feeling. Luckily, he has some chops, but I've never seen him make these great big plays. I mean, he had those elbow calls for Love, so let's see what he does.
Yeah, I think we got to give him a chance now to implement everything. I mean, the credit to him would be that he ran our defense that was super good in the playoffs last year. That was even Blatt credited that all to him, right? So. Yep.
I mean, if you believe Chris Hayes, he ran our out of timeout plays apparently,
right?
Which is bullshit.
I don't think that's true. I think Blatt ran them.
It's absolute garbage. Blatt ran great out of timeout inbound split. Well, I mean, he had a tough time with inbounds in certain sets. That was really bizarre. But normally his out of bounds plays in the normal flow of things has been fantastic. So I find that to be bullshit. But getting back to Griff, so this is where again Jason Lloyd's column comes in handy. You know, when I was live texting you Griffin's press conference.
Yep.
I was struck immediately by the reference to how the team does not thrive in prosperity.
Yeah.
Not a phrase I ever heard before. Usually teams don't thrive under adversity, right? But clearly this team actually does thrive under adversity. The problem was that once the going got easy, we kind of coasted and stopped. You know, we just weren't together. We didn't push to the next level, which is what you have to do if you're going to get good enough to beat a superlative team like Golden State. It's what Golden State's been doing all year. You know, regardless of the level of their opponent, they are just trying to destroy everyone and everything.
Yep.
We aren't doing that. We don't have that kind of togetherness. So, I mean, what did you think of that particular, Matty? And then what Jason Lloyd told you about the win over the Clippers in particular?
I still don't quite know what to make of it. Like we talked about this. I'm super surprised that the locker room is that down and not together.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's felt that way all along. And I don't know. I guess it makes a little bit of sense if people hated Blatt that much and just didn't feel confidence that he was going to be able to get. I mean, that's what it sounds like, is they lost confidence in him as a leader. And so even a win over the Clippers, while in a vacuum, good. That's a top 5 or 6 team in the league. You beat them pretty handily at home. That should feel good. But if you have no confidence in your leader and you're like, this is just empty because all this is meaningless because you know that he's not good enough to get us where we eventually need to go, then what's the point, right? And if that's how they felt, it's more reason to make the call that he made. I get it. If that's what it means. If the locker room sense was just empty, like empty joy. Yeah,
that was the picture I got from listening to him talk about it. Empty joy. Like they thought, we won this game. We're not going to win the championship.
Right. Doesn't mean anything.
This is a worthless win, which is sort of how I felt, honestly, after the game. You know.
Well, I mean, that's the problem with the Warriors' loss is that they were all going to feel worthless until we got it done. You know, we'll have another chance next Saturday, right, against the Spurs.
Sunday, I thought, isn't it Sunday?
Saturday. They're Friday. They're in Detroit, and then Saturday they're home again. The same. It's the ABC primetime game.
Right. Okay.
Same thing. So that'll be the last shot. But after that, all of them will be sort of meaningless, right?
Completely. I mean, we'll have completed our games against the top 2 teams that matter. And so that's just about which is nice, right? In the sense that I mean, it's frustrating as a fan to not have any more tests, right? Any more measuring sticks.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have
the rest of the season to practice.
Right. We'll have the Thunder and Clippers on the road, which are something. We've got 2 more games against the Bulls. Well, the Bulls don't scare me at all. They're a bunch of losers.
No, they're terrible. No one cares about them. Well, the Thunder at home, Matty, actually. We beat them.
We beat them on the road, didn't we?
Didn't we? I thought we did.
No, I think that was a home game.
It was a home game? Oh, I thought it was on the road. Oh no, we did it without Kyrie, I guess.
Yeah,
that's what it was. I knew we had some
something against us.
Yeah, exactly. You had some breaking news for me before. First of all, I mean, before I get the breaking news, who the hell is Brett Brielmeyer? Have you heard of this guy?
Brett Brielmeyer?
Yeah, he looks like, I don't know, like Brendan had a kid.
Yeah. I don't know him.
He's apparently he was promoted to the 3rd on the bench for Blatt's for Blatt's.
Oh, that's
first
right.
Game.
He's an assistant coach. I think he's
29 years old. He's Jesus, 7 years or younger, Matty.
I know, and he's been in the league for 7 years.
What the hell are we doing in our lives?
Just gabbing with each other like this.
Yeah, Jesus. But apparently, I guess he's going to be bumped back because something else has happened, Matty.
Yeah, I just before we got on, the Cavs have signed Mike Longobardi as an assistant coach.
Mike Lombardi?
No.
The Browns, Mike Lombardi? Are you fucking kidding me?
No, easy. Back off the ledge.
Well, Longobardi. Okay.
So he was in Phoenix this year. He's one of the 2 assistant coaches that got canned when there was when things got weird in Phoenix a month ago or so.
Where owners fired assistant coaches out from underneath Jeff Hornacek.
Yeah.
Weird.
So that was weird, but he was sort of Thibodeau's deputy in Boston. And came in and ran the defense there. He's got a super good reputation. That's what he does, is run the defensive side of the ball. So it's maybe he's coming in to do RD, and so Tyronn Lue would know him from his Doc relationship, I'm pretty sure. And if Tyronn Lue feels like he's got to take over more of the offense now, because
that's one thing I was worried about. He's been running the defense. It's tough to do both. So that's nice. He can pass that off to Longobardi and focus on revamping the offense.
Yeah, I think that at least theoretically would be the plan for my understanding of things.
Do you think this adds any fuel to the fire of Markieff Morris coming to the Cavs?
Interesting. I have no idea about Longobardi's relationship with Morris.
Doesn't sound like it was good.
Well, I don't think those guys were canned because they couldn't. I mean, the Suns screwed up their relationship with Markieff Morris when they traded his. You know about that?
Yeah, the trade of his brother, right? I don't know what went down with it.
Well, the Twins, they went to Phoenix and were like, "Here's the total amount of money that we want. So we'll chop it up amongst us, however is fair. But like, you're getting both of us, and we want to be here together." So like, Markieff in particular took a pretty steep discount, with the understanding that he would stay with his brother, and then they traded his brother.
Wow. So
he's furious and like not 100% without reason, right? Like I get where he's coming from. He's probably been a baby about it, and there's other questions, but his reasons for hating the Suns are not ridiculous.
So has it been proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Carlos Boozer is not at all involved with the Phoenix Suns organization? Because it feels like he got boozered.
That is all the hallmarks of the classic boozering.
It totally does. It's the handshake agreement.
The classic boozer bait and switch. So yeah, I have no idea what I do. I mean, we traded Joe Harris, I guess, for money reasons, allegedly, but I think really it saved us a tiny little bit of money. But I think really for the roster spot. And that'll be the other interesting thing to see. There was some suggestion after Blatt got fired that we've got roster moves coming. I think you and I talked. I don't think that's Kevin Love. Although it was super weird. The thing that got swept under the rug and we haven't talked about yet is that when the players got called, I think Windhorst tweeted that the players were totally shocked when the team meeting got called to tell them that Blatt was fired. They thought somebody had been traded and thought it was Kevin Love.
Yeah, Matt Moore from CBS, otherwise known as Harvard Paroxysm, made a big deal out of that in his post, saying that's fucked up. That suggests that the team felt there was enough weird buzz that it would not be unexpected. That was the first thing they went to. Yeah. But honestly, I chalk that up to Kevin Love has been the hobby, like he's been the first guy people beat up when shit goes wrong.
For sure. He's the whipping boy on the team.
He's the whipping boy, exactly. So I feel like they just reacted to that more than anything else. And then they just didn't see the Blatt thing coming because they would have thought it would have happened after the Portland disaster.
Yeah.
Or immediately after Golden State. And then when they won 2 more games, like, well, Blatt's still here. So they had pretty much let it go and didn't think about it. So I think that is a interesting note that doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah.
From the general manager standpoint. I think it's more about the media environment.
So
I also think it means it's less likely that Love gets traded. The fact that Griffin is the one that fired Blatt.
I agree with you because the team is Griffin's design. I think we're going to see a move around the margins here. That could mean Andy gets dealt, or because his contract's expiring, I think, right? Or Mo, who could have some value to somebody else and doesn't really have so much of a role on this team anymore. Mozgov, I guess, theoretically, except his value is pretty much cratered at this point. So he's an expiring deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the guys, and we have the Haywood trade exception, too, that we can just take stuff back into.
Mm-hmm.
So I suspect we see something around the margins there, and that it's for another wing player.
And we have an extra roster spot, so we could just maybe sign somebody who's been amnestied.
For sure.
To add to the
or
roster.
Bought out.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, not the amnesty's gone. I forgot the rules on this.
I think there's like 3 teams that can still amnesty. I can't remember. Somebody keeps that list of players because it's only players that were still signed when the provision. So it's like a vanishingly small number of players that could still be amnestied.
Right. You can still be bought out if you're not amnestied, right? Any team can do that.
Totally different thing. Yeah.
Okay. I forget the rules on that. But I still think it's very unlikely that we do anything with Mozgov. It would be criminal of us to deal Mozgov without getting a rim protector in return because we have no one on the roster who can be what Mozgov is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. No matter how bad Mozgov can keep playing like a fucking asshole. He played great last night, I felt like, didn't he? Well, okay. I mean, good. For what he's been doing, he wasn't a disaster like he has been lately.
Yeah.
The last week or so, actually, he's been really promising, and I've been pretty pleased with him. But like, even if he plays his worst all year until the playoffs, you can't until the trade deadline. You can't trade him unless you get something back in return that could possibly defend the rim. And I don't think you're going to get that.
Right, and the only situation we do that is taking back a long – so it would be like sending him to Phoenix for Tyson Chandler or something where they have a contract they want to get rid of. And that particular deal I would want no part of.
I agree, but if we wanted to make a deal to get rid of Mozgov to get something else that's good – I mean, I don't know if it's Markieff Morris. I don't really want Markieff Morris. It's not really what we need.
I don't know, Pat. Have you seen his? There's stats out there that say he's the Draymond Green killer.
Oh, is that true? What do you think, Matty?
That he plays Draymond better than almost anybody else in the league, which is why teams would have interest in him.
Oh, Matty, tell me more. I had not seen this. I have not read this.
There was I think Zach Lowe had a podcast with Windhorse a couple weeks ago, and they talked about that, and they specifically said, the Cavs seem like they should be interested in him. In the rumor that Windhorse said what he was hearing from the Cavs is that they were not. But should they be? Maybe. Part of the idea here is that he's a head case right now, but he's a head case in Phoenix for the particular reasons we just talked about with his brother, and that he's ready to go someplace else and rub it in Phoenix's face, and that someplace else could be any place else. It doesn't need to be to Detroit to play with his brother again. He just needs to be out of Phoenix and rub it in their faces. He's a really good player.
Yeah, really good.
I honestly think we should think quite seriously about it.
Yeah. Oh, you're selling me on this. I was kind of like, nervous about it. It was J.R. Smith territory, right? Like no,
for sure.
Right?
Way down that path.
But he's got J.R. Smith talent, and if J.R. Smith could turn around this team, Markieff Morris is,
a little more malicious than JR. JR is sort of a goofball for the most part.
Right.
Backhanded slaps to the face set aside. Mm-hmm. I think the insinuation with Markieff is that it is just a little more dangerous almost.
But did he have any of that reputation before this year?
Yeah, he's always been a little bit of a head case. I think even in Kansas.
Oh, interesting. So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. That's interesting. Jesus. I mean, just roll the fucking dice, I guess, right?
You got to think seriously about it. I mean, it depends what Phoenix wants and how much the market for him. I mean, when it first happened, it sort of seemed like the market got so bad that they were going to have to add something, like sweeten it with a draft pick to get rid of him. I think it's changed since then, but I don't really know.
So, I mean,
they should kick the tires for sure.
If you want Mozgov or Chandler straight up, you want Mozgov, right?
I think so. Chandler's been horrible this year, man. He looks done.
He looks done to me too. I mean, it could also again be the Phoenix situation, but he's 32?
Yeah, I think that's right. Something like that.
Pretty old for a guy that big. I mean, Mozgov's 29, 30, right?
Who is?
Mozgov. He's pretty old. I mean, he's in the late 20s or, it's like 30, right?
I don't think he's 30 yet, but 28 or 29, I think
29,
that's right.
Yeah, I think he's 29 this year. So, but yeah, I don't want to.
Actually, I think Chandler's older than that, Pat. Now that I think about it.
Yeesh. Yeah,
No, maybe not. 33. It's something like that. I don't think we want him. He's got 4 years left on his deal. It's just,
well, we both have computers, Matty. We can figure this out.
I'm not in front of one. I'm going off the top of my head.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, I'm looking right now.
I have another question for you, Pat. It's slightly off topic, but do you read anything into all the NBA coaches that are sort of shitting on the Cavs right now?
It's annoying. It's frustrating. I mean, like Rick Carlisle is one of the best coaches in the NBA, so it's annoying to hear him.
He's
call
also
an
the
embarrassment.
president of the Coaches Association.
Of course,
too.
so he has to do that, right?
Yeah.
And I think he kind of walked back some of it in his own comments, because he took over for the last guy that had like a 70% winning percentage, right?
Carlisle
took over for Avery, who was fired after leading his team to the best record in the Western Conference.
Yeah, that's
Just
true.
lost in the first round. So Carlisle could fucking talk. 33, Matty. Yes, Tyson Chaz 33.
Okay.
No thanks.
Yeah. And I also liked Jason Lloyd's tweet yesterday where he said all these coaches coming out of the same coaches who were shitting all over Blatt anonymously last year.
That is also fascinating. It's another great part of his piece. Matty, going back to the trade options, so Markieff Morris is a big potential piece, right? One that I think we should really seriously consider. I don't know where he fits on this roster with Love, right? Obviously, we keep, I
think he comes in as your backup, your immediate backup 3 to LeBron, right?
Interesting, because he's not really is he really a 3?
Yeah, he can play 3.
He can play 3, but he's more a 4, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. I think he can switch between either of those. I think you really want him in small ball lineups where he can play the four and small ball lineups, and
right.
Even move Love to the 5. I don't know. I think that's something we might want to think about against Golden State too. Is starting Love at the 5. I was just having him play Bogut and moving everybody accordingly, and then Morris would be hugely valuable. You'd play him as a 4.
Yeah.
LeBron at the 3.
But again, people have been shitting on Love in the small ball lineups. We can't play Love against small ball. Like honestly, Love has been great at the 5 in the last we played. He's not been horrible.
No, it's only a problem against Golden State because Draymond's the 5, and I don't trust Love there. But when Bogut or Ezeli are out there, sure,
do it. And the whole point is, who gives a shit? Like again, one thing I tried to get at last time, we didn't have time because I spent the whole time being drunkenly ranting. But the one thing we didn't talk about is the whole max contract language. I think that's hugely problematic, and I get mad when you do it because I think you know better, and you're just doing it to goad me. Although you weren't doing it first, but eventually you knew it got me, and you did it to goad me.
Oh, I meant it at first. Eventually, I was just making you angry.
No. The point being, at first you meant it, yeah. But eventually you tried to goad me to it. But the point being, it's hugely problematic and nonsensical. Even if Love isn't worth this, I understand the expectations. You're supposed to be an amazing player, and it's still the case. Regardless of what we pay him, what his contract is, when we traded for him, we traded for the Kevin Love from Minnesota. So that's always going to be disappointing. But the money we paid him is doesn't matter at all, period. That's what we had to do to keep him on the team, and there's no player on the market we could have gotten to replace him, period. End of story.
That's fair enough.
So who gives a shit if he's not finishing games? If he's happy and the lineup doesn't work, if he's not in the final minutes of game 7 against Golden State and we win, who fucking gives a shit? He got us there. No,
I think that's fair.
And that's where the Cavs are. That's what I find so promising about this roster is how versatile we are, how many options we have to play. And I'm now kind of excited about the idea of training, of somehow getting Markieff Morris into the fold as another guy to play, especially if you're saying he can play the 3, because Richard Jefferson is almost unplayable right now.
He's really regressed, hasn't he?
That's sad. It's just mostly on defense. On offense, he's fine. He can hit threes. He can put the ball on the floor. He's fine on offense. But boy, he's been terrible on defense.
Yeah,
really bad. I thought he could hold his own on defense, and we wouldn't have to worry about this. People were saying we need another wing. I'm like, what happened to Richard Jefferson? He can't play defense.
Nope. And to be fair, he's also the 12th or 13th guy in the team, right? Like,
yeah, but he's our first off the bench. He's our second number 3. He's our second small forward, isn't he?
technically, I mean, I think really JR is.
I
right?
know, but JR's the starting, shooting guard. So yeah, JR
Right.
can slide over, but
No, technically you're right.
true small forward is Richard Jefferson.
Yeah.
So
I'd like somebody else there.
So it'd be nice to have another person there. I mean, you can say we need another, guy in the front court, but we have Verja. I like to see him get some more play. Honestly, I mean, he's not going to be a world beater, but we need to figure out a way to get him more minutes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, I think that kind of covers it for me, Matty. You have anything else?
The only other thing I saw was I saw this on Twitter before we started too, that somebody got a quote from Lou Amundsen, who said
I did see that.
Who took an opportunity to shit on Blatt a little bit and just said that the locker room last year before he was traded and the Waiters trade was a mess.
Yeah.
Again, we sort of knew the locker room was a mess then. That wasn't really news. That's one of the reasons we made that trade. But Haywood, I think Brennan Haywood came out and had some rough stuff to say about Blatt. So it's more clear that it was not just a LeBron needing to control everything.
I love that the least important people on our team are the ones with the biggest quotes.
Right.
This is a guy who Tristan Thompson, kind of like absent-mindedly dissed and created a beef. Now when Lou Edmonton plays the Cavs, he gets so hype for the game.
Yep.
And gets all up in TT's grill and embarrasses himself. It's comical.
Yeah.
Yeah. David Blatt. Good night, sweet prince.
Fare thee well.
Fare thee well. Honestly, do you think he coaches again in the NBA? I think he does.
I don't know.
People have been saying no way.
He'll go be an assistant someplace now, right? Like I don't think he's going to get a head coaching gig right away.
I don't think so either. At the same time, there are some teams that are desperate, and they might take a shot on him. So I would not rule it out at all. You got Minnesota, you got the Lakers, which would be hilarious because their last 3 coaches then would be former Cavs coaches.
Yeah,
which would be hilarious. You also have the Nets. So a lot of teams in interim situations that could even hire him this year, middle of the season. I think I do it's unlikely, but Blatt is committed to staying in the States.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, which makes sense. I wouldn't go back to Europe with my tail between my legs. I already proved my point. I want to prove myself again. I would find it fascinating if he went to Golden State. That'd be the ultimate fuck you move.
Oh, to go be an assistant coach there? Yeah.
Which is what he was originally hired. He was originally hired. If he had originally
that's the greatest irony.
Stuck with it. One, he probably would have left this season to be the coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. If he hadn't, he'd be coaching.
He'd be Luke Walton.
He'd be Luke Walton right now.
Yep.
Everything would be turning up Blatt.
Yep.
If he had done that. Which was the whole thing when people were questioning whether he should have gone straight to the Cavs. It made sense when he was taking a young team, which is the real ultimate unfairness and just bad luck for Blatt.
Did you see Poznansky's piece about this?
I did not.
He had a great analogy about this actually, he started out his piece talking about how the high percentage of people that win lotteries and then just have terrible things happen in their lives. They go bankrupt, their friends and family. And they're like, poor David Blatt, he won the lottery. LeBron came.
Yep.
And then this is what happened. It was a great analogy from him.
That's genius. Yeah, that's completely true. And I feel bad for him for that because I was excited to see him coach that young team.
Yeah. Which maybe Minnesota's a place to go. Then he gets Wiggins back, Wiggins and Towns.
That's what I'm saying. I think he has a strong case. I don't think that the coaching pool is that strong that he couldn't land one of those jobs if he wanted it. And worst case scenario, for sure he'll be hired as a top assistant somewhere. For sure.
Maybe this can be another Belichick situation for us, Pat. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, it's guaranteed. I'm already. The funny thing is, in this case, Belichick was an asshole and a fucking horrible coach of the Browns, like a fucking toxic, horrible. he lost the locker room a million times over. He was a terrible coach with the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, he fails upward. I hate guys who fail upward. Blatt, yes, he failed, but I feel like he was put in a position to fail, and he deserves success. I feel like I feel positive about Blatt, and I want him to do well. I won't be angry when he does well somewhere else. How do you feel about that?
I think, especially if that someplace is Minnesota, where I'd be fine with them being good. You know?
Yeah. I don't want it to be the Lakers, obviously.
No, or I don't know, whatever. Hoiberg gets fired and he goes and does it in Chicago or something like that. That would make me mad. As long as it's not one of our rivals, then sure.
Ooh, Matty, the Nets. I'd be excited. I get to watch them.
Yeah, you get to go see them all the time, buddy.
Then it might give me some fodder to be excited about having a number 2 team. I've never really actually had that. Like a team I actually consistently consider my number 2 team. They're right down the block. That'd be exciting. So, yeah.
All right, so we wish him well.
Wish him well. Fare thee well, David Blatt. You were an asshole, but you were our asshole. And we're going to miss you. But now, on to Comrade Lue.
Big week this week, Patty.
Big week. Minnesota tomorrow night.
Yep.
Speaking of which. And we have another game midweek.
Wednesday game against, I can't remember who. Somebody not great.
Then Friday against the Pistons, who've been up and down. They can beat us anytime. They've beaten us several. They've proven they can beat us. They beat the shit out of the Warriors before the Warriors beat the shit out of us.
Yep.
And the next night is our final test. So Lue's got some time, and that to me is going to be the bellwether. It's unfair to make that the bellwether because they'll have less than a week to prepare for it, and they'll have 3 games in between then. So that's a rough schedule.
Yep.
But
Phoenix on Wednesday, by the way.
Phoenix, there you go. So yeah, two easy games. Although frankly, the way we played last night, we could easily lose to Minnesota, but I think we win those 2 games.
We need to win those games.
Yes,
at home against non-playoff teams from the West. Yes, we need to win both those games.
Absolutely.
There's no excuse.
We have to come out of this 3-1 to have any confidence. I feel like,
and play a solid game against San Antonio, even if we lose.
Yeah.
If we get blown out in that game, then.
It's terrible. But if we play like we did when we lost them by 4, I will deal with that. I won't be happy about it.
Yeah.
But if they beat San Antonio, that's huge. That would be huge. That would be a huge.
Start planning the parade.
Fuck you. Seriously, fuck you. That's not cool, Matty. That's not.
Cool. All right. I'm sorry.
You know better.
I take it back.
You know better. All right. That does it for the Cleveland Sports Hour. We'll come back to you probably maybe this time next week. Right, Matty?
Yeah, Mike could be. I think I'm going to a Bone Thugs concert next week around this time, so we might have to do it a little earlier. But
that's exciting. That's very exciting. I love to do it earlier in the day.
Okay.
I'll work it out. But yeah, so next Sunday we'll come back to you after the pivotal Spurs game. Until next time, that does it for the Cleveland Sports Hour. This is Matty and Patty saying, friendship.